Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Yeah? Did everybody enjoy the showing? Yeah? Good? Well, my name is Natalie Stone. I'm with the Hollywood Reporter. I'm an editor there. And today we have Eion Bailey with us, who you actually just saw on Ray Donovan. He's also known for his roles on Stalker and Once Upon a Time. So we're going to dissect the episode a little bit and talk to him how about he got to where he is today. So if you can give a warm welcome, please.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me.
We were both just connecting about how this is both our first times doing it, so yeah. Yeah, first time for both of us, right? So first of all, to kick things off, I think a lot of actors want to know, how did you get to where you are? So when did you know, at what stage were you like, I want to be an actor, this is what I want to do?
Oh, yeah. I was kind of forced, like child slave labor, into doing commercials when I was a kid. I absolutely hated them. We lived in Malibu, Zuma Beach. I'd much rather spend time on Zuma Beach than being dragged into LA by my mother to do a dog and pony show in front of people I didn't know. But I was kind of successful with it, and I was allowed to buy a bunch of Star Wars toys with what was made. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then we moved up to San Ynez, California, and when I got into high school, there was a drama class that was available, and I thought, oh, what drama? So I took that, and I was also concurrently getting into a lot of trouble with the police, with school, questioning authority at all times, being taken out of class and interrogated, like truly interrogated by detectives for any, crime that might have happened in the San Ynez Valley, of which I did not commit. I started doing plays, and the first play was something in my sophomore year, and it was mostly girls in the drama department, and so I was one of just a few guys, and they decided to do this play about an all-girls school, Catholic school, and then I was going to play a teacher, and then we were writing it as it was going along, and we started rehearsing it and workshopping it, and then it kind of became this story of like a teacher who is accused of sexually, I think it wasn't sexual molestation, but it was like, wanting that or advances that were unwelcomed. And it kind of turned into that, like the question of a man's guilt, kind of like, doubt, the dealing with issues like that. And I played that guy, and it became Call Me Bob, named after the teacher, of which I played. And then I just did all the plays in high school after that. But I was thrown out of my high school. I had to go to this thing called the continuation program, where it's like, wannabe gangsters and the rejects of the school. And the drama teacher made a deal with the superintendent of the school who happened to like me. And I remember he used to stop me in the halls of the school, and he'd say, I remember this one time he said this. He said, I never know, I like this about you. I never know who you are. Like one day you look kind of like, I used to like be really into NWA and think I, would rather spend my time in Compton. and I dressed accordingly,
The chain.
Chain?
Do-rag.
Oh, yeah, kind of like maybe bandana, but like Raiders parka, like I don't forget exactly how, And then the next day I might dress kind of preppy. And he was like, I can't quite, put a finger on what you're all about, but I like it. So he was kind of on my side to get me back into the school, the superintendent. And the drama teacher approached him. He was my mentor, this guy named David Hodges. He was like the mentor in my life. And he made a deal with the superintendent. He said, if you allow him back into the school, I'll make sure he does all the plays, and then he'll stay out of trouble, and everything will be fine. I just have to keep him occupied after school. And I then did all of the plays, and I also played football and was, something of a jock a bit as well. I wouldn't consider myself a jock. I just love the sport of football. And I got all these football players to start auditioning for plays. And by the time our senior year rolled around, it was no longer like this girls' event. It was more even. More, Huh? Okay. It was Glee.
She said it was Glee.
Yeah. There was more, gender equality. So then all these, guys and football players were doing the high school plays, and it just became a blast. Where it would be like an event in our town. We had a nice theater, 250 seats. There was some money pumped into the productions, and we'd do like 8 shows. And everyone would sell out, and it was like a thing for the whole community to go, and it was like theater was cool in San Ynez. So it was a lot of fun. And so it was my alternative to a life of crime.
Well, tell us about your acting journey early on. How did you decide to pursue it full time and make it a career?
Well, that was it. I mean, I didn't know, I did just marginally, I did decent in school because I never did homework. I was class, some people call it a clown. Mm-hmm. And theater was the one thing I felt like I could excel at that would bring me out of this. I wasn't a good enough football player to like go pro or something, nor baseball. So theater was like the one thing. I was like, okay, I can like go. I could do something with this. So I auditioned for schools, and I ended up going to the American Academy of Dramatic Art in New York and moved there when I was 18. My family were moving to Nashville, Tennessee. My mom just decided like she was like, I'm gonna get in the country music business. Very brave at the age of 45, and she just moved the whole family. And I was like, cool, I'm going to New York. And I went there, and I felt like the school was not for me after a year. I just wasn't. I didn't feel like to continue on with the school was going to work. And they have a thing there at the American Academy, and maybe it's at a lot of theater schools, where they kind of cut after they allow 200 in for the freshman year, and then they cut it down to 100, and then down to whatever amount for the company in the third year. And I said to myself after living in New York for almost a year, I said, I'm not going to wait to see if I get invited back. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to do something to like make sense of this year I just spent in New York City. So I went and got a backstage. And there was a casting call for a movie that Kevin Smith was producing, and he had just done Clerks and Mallrats. And I knew of both of those films, and it was for the lead. And I went down, and I guess I got the script beforehand. I don't remember, but I went down to New Jersey to some small community theater and auditioned, and then I got the role. I got the lead. And I was like, oh wow, this is my first audition. I mean, come on. I don't need school anymore. And I left. And I never waited to see, the letter that was coming to my apartment in Queens. I was just done. And I did this movie in New Jersey, and it was a small production. It was $50,000 this guy had. He had a great deal with Kevin Smith, who was his close friend growing up. Their deal was whoever makes it first funds the other guy's first film. So he got $50,000 for his movie, and that was not enough to put me up in a hotel or anything, so I slept at the foot of his bed in his parents' garage conversion. Strange.
The life of an actor.
The life of an actor.
What do you see as your breakout moment, and how did it impact you in your career?
Oh, I don't even know if I have a breakout moment. I don't even know what a breakout moment is. Like, I feel like, for me, my experiences as a professional actor have been, I don't want to say highs and lows, because I don't know that there's lows that I feel. But I've had experiences of going places when I was 21, and people coming up to me in Las Vegas. My one like boys trip to Las Vegas, people were coming up to me left and right, and then there's been years since then where that doesn't happen, and then it does again. And I don't know. It has to do more with like what's on air at the time, or like what movie's out, and then people forget. And I think that's why, for me, I have to remember, or I've learned, or humility. It's like you just as an actor, because it's like there's this duality to it. It is a beautiful profession because we get to touch people's hearts. We get to perhaps alter their conditioning even. And then we have to also remember, conversely, that just goes away like the tide. And maybe it'll come back with another story you're a part of telling, and then it will go away again. And once I got in tune with the tides, I no longer felt like, oh, when is my breakout moment? It's just going to hopefully be, you know, a career is just like this string of incidents that you're a part of and have, you know, maybe a significant degree of ability to affect. And that's enough for me. You know, as long as I just try to do whatever is my opportunity in front of me, I try to do the best that I possibly can within the given circumstances.
Tell us about the first time that you appeared on camera. What was that role, kind of, not breakout, but what was the first project that you kind of got, ooh, there goes my cards, that you got
That was
booked
the
for?
movie, that
okay.
independent film.
Thank you.
So do you want to know about that one, or like because that's the 50 grand indie film made in
How about your
Red Bank,
first
New Jersey.
TV experience, the first time you made it on
Maloney,
television?
Peter Strauss show, cop show, and I was the perp, the the young punk who did or did not hurt somebody, and the rich kid. I had to shake that role. Like I was like, how do I always get these like entitled rich kid roles? I don't know. Do I seem entitled? I don't know.
This guy's shaking his head right here.
Nodding, or which was it? I missed it. It was you. Fight Club was my first studio feature, and that was an amazing experience to see just how it operates on that level. And I have such a debt of gratitude to David Fincher, because I asked him one day, I said, can I just let it be known to him that I'm interested in filmmaking, in the totality of it. And he ended up saying, well, whenever you're not I was on the run of the picture, and it was a 7-month shoot. He said, whenever you're not working, you can come in and just pull up a chair next to me, and I'll, when I have time, I'll show you what I'm doing. And I did that. I was like, oh, wow. Now even in hindsight, it's like the most incredible film school for a 21-year-old. Yeah, so I took him up on that, and that was really great. Really great.
What types of training or classes were you and are you currently in?
I took a long break from acting training. I think because I had so many issues around teachers, and not necessarily right-headed. I wasn't right-headed about it. I had my own things to get through with that. But I took Howard Fine's classes. I was in, he let me into his master class, and that was kind of fun to do. I did that for a little while. And Jay Goldenberg, who ended up moving to New York, and I worked with a guy who, for this movie that I did, hired an acting teacher named Stephen Memel to work with me on weekends in between the shoot, and every Sunday we'd go over all the scenes for the next week. And it really worked out. I mean, the movie, I ended up getting an Emmy for it. It was a daytime Emmy. It aired during the day. It was just, it's like a feature film that just happened to have that kind of situation. But I found that to be really helpful, just on a Sunday, just to go over all of the scenes for the week, and he'd make me do it, and we'd act it out. And I think just letting that go, like working out some of the kinks and kind of the nervousness of just kind of shake it out of the body was really helpful. And now I work with a Canadian teacher who I just think the world of. I mean, she has re-inspired. My wife first has re-inspired me for. I think I had a couple years where I was interested in other things. And acting was kind of more of a means to an end, and I was just a little bit down on the whole thing. And I married a theater director who who is totally inspired by storytelling and just being in her vicinity and going to all this theater and talking about acting and storytelling ignited something in me. And then I got back into class with a Canadian teacher named Michelle Lonsdale Smith, who's here in Los Angeles. And she is just as inspiring as can be for me. She just talks about, you know, like just in a nutshell, like, it's not an idea of a character that you're playing, it's you, truly. And we know this, we all know this. This is not a unique thing, but it's the way in which a teacher gets inside of your brain to change the way your synapses fire in regarding this, like where I can truly understand that I am this, and when we truly give ourselves to a role, and I don't experience it all the time, you know, I have not figured this all out yet, but when it does happen, it's such an incredible feeling to be totally 100% in synchronicity with character and story. I realize that that's enough for me. If I can be a part of storytelling that, like we talked about earlier, like that moves people, that changes their hearts and their minds for good. And to explore all of the facets of the humanity, everything we go through, whether it's, you know, lately I've been doing these things that are, well, as you saw some of, and then in this show Stalker, you know, doubled down in that story, illness, human illness, and that is dangerous and volatile and criminal. Those are interesting things that we, you know, we're given the honor to explore and hopefully just bring humanity to instead of judging it. So I tried to do my best not to judge, and have empathy for anyone I'm playing, including someone who would kill other people. Like why does anyone kill in the first place? I think they feel justified in doing it, and have probably been wounded beyond belief in their life. It's all cyclical. We know this. It's all like what goes around comes around. We're all willing participants in this madhouse of a world that's filled with everything, and we all contribute to all aspects of it. I kind of meandered there, but I hope that was...
Well, walk us through the process. You were touching on this a bit, but of how you memorize your lines and take on your character. Is there something that you did? I mean, last year you had 3 different shows, 3 very different characters. So can you kind of walk us through that process?
Well, we'll start with Steve Knight and Ray Donovan. I knew I'm going to be playing a motivational speaker. And I thought, okay, what does the script give me? The script gives me, like, fight for your life. It gives me some kind of line like, well, you know, at the end of your life, do you want to just be known as being nice? I mean, come on, like, you know, it's like, get yours. So I decided with this character, and I think everything has its own individual way in which to approach a character, but for this I decided, well, what is this man's philosophy with his teaching? Because maybe if I understand his philosophy, I understand his code of life, and then I'll understand everything, a way to go about everything he does. So I wrote out, if I were a motivational speaker with these benchmarks that I have to hit, what would be my teaching? So I created a teaching, and something really illuminated itself to me when I thought of, there was some kind of like marker about impulses. And I thought, well, I believe all impulses, whether you judge them good or bad, are from God, the ultimate source of life. They come up in you because you are a direct conduit to the source of all life, and and this is something to listen to. And my teaching is to, when you have an impulse, you go, you don't question. there are good things you might have impulses to do, and it's all those things like, oh, I wish I would have said that to that person, or I had that thought to do that and I didn't do it. Oh, God, if I would have just jumped on it. It's like comic timing, right? Like you go with a joke, or you miss a few beats and then it falls flat. So go with your impulse, even if it's beating a man because he shouldn't have brought in a sandwich. When I'm in my meditation, right? So the impulse is there, and you go, and so he takes it to the front. He's an experimenter, right? If you're on the frontier of a teaching, a philosophy, you have to take it the furthest. So I thought that's what this guy does. He takes that the furthest it can possibly go. So that was one of the ways in, and once I kind of, I guess, getting at like key fundamental aspects of the person, then other things kind of slot into place, the details and learning lines. I don't know. I always find that challenging. I think just repetition of reading it again and again, and then, but a trap that I fall into sometimes is kind of being on autopilot, like thinking about like, what seeds I'm gonna plant in the garden while also learning lines simultaneously. Like I can multitask. That doesn't work out so well. I just spend a lot more time in front of a script and nothing's really retaining. So I try and focus and really see. And then I realize when I read a scene again and again with true focus, all these things illuminate that I didn't even see the first 5 times reading it. These little keys come up. Oh, right. And then the words start to make sense. Why I say that and what they're saying to me. And, oh, right. Okay, got it. And then it's kind of there instead of like, I had a friend we all know people, or some of us do it, who can just learn by like picture, like a picture. Don't really need to know the why. I find I learn text better when I know the why. Mm-hmm. Yeah, then it sinks in.
Mm-hmm. The story behind.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us about how you juggled the 3 shows last year? I think that's kind of a dream for a lot of actors. I'm on 3 shows. But how was that for you? Like, how did you go in and out of each character last year?
I was thinking about what we all do. It's like not only do you juggle whatever you're working on, but also auditions for, like preparing for whatever. I just felt like I had one moment of that. I was like, wow, I just can't do this all at the same time. I was in Vancouver. Stalker and Ray Donovan and Stalker, they didn't coincide. I had time in between, and then I was doing Stalker, and then I was up in Vancouver just on a weekend to do a reshoot. And there was a script that I was supposed to read and prepare an audition for right when I was going to go back on to Stalker. And it was just like, oh man, at some point there's just too many ideas running around in the mind, and it's just not going to work out. It's like this idea of burning a candle at both ends, and it's not going to end well, or it's just not going to be beneficial. So I think I dropped that. Yeah. No, I just postponed it. And then ended up going and reading for the people the day my son was born. Yeah, truly, I was like, I was just like preparing it in the hospital, and then I was like, oh, this could be a really fun part to play. So my wife, getting it, she's like, this is our second child. She might have not been okay with it the first one. But we were at Cedars, and we had, support. And I went in and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And the audition was down the street, really. And I just walked from the hospital over, did the reading, walked back, and then she gave birth like an hour and a half later, and it all just worked out great.
It was a good luck charm.
Yeah, well, I didn't get the role anyways, but whatever. I got the son. That's way better.
Priorities.
Right.
I think a lot of people want to know that in moments of doubt, because we all go through them of, oh, I can't do this anymore. I'm going to go back to what's comfortable. I'm going to pursue whatever I got a degree in. What is it that motivates you to keep going in those moments of lull? Was there a piece of advice that you were given?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, the moments of doubt. I don't even know if I'm fully can take credit for overcoming. It's just some internal engine where the RPMs start to rev, and it says, it's like an engine that goes, you're gonna do this. You're gonna commit to this thing. You're gonna take the risk. You're gonna jump off the cliff. You're gonna fucking do this thing, whatever it is. You're gonna go now. I don't care that you're fearing this. And that's me, like some part of the mind just going like, no, it's scary, I can't do it. It's going to be a waste of time because they're not going to care anyways. I'm just going to do all this. And then the other part, equally stronger actually, is going, no, do it. And I don't know where that comes from. I always had an idea. I've always had an idea that my lot in life is storytelling. That's the only thing I've known for sure, and that I would do something significant with it. That knowing that's pure is enough to turn that engine on when things seem dark. Yeah, and then the light comes on and I get up and go again. And that's like that, right? Like we fall. We perceive that we fall. And that things are just not going to work out. And then don't we always pick ourselves up and dust off the boots and hit the road again? Hit the road again.
Did you have a moment where you said, I want to give this up, I don't want to do this anymore?
Yeah, I did. I remember exactly. It was after an audition, which are still excruciating auditions. They're like, sometimes they're like unbearable. People don't give you, like, what, you just go in and they're like, and then you bare your soul. That's tough. An audition for a movie called, Joyride. Like, who cares? Joyride. I don't even remember who's in it, whatever. But I thought the director was he did Rounders. He was and he did this episode. Oh my God, that's amazing. He directed this episode.
Wow.
Forgetting his name at the moment. Anyone catch his, John Dahl. So I'm almost positive he did this movie called Joyride. And I had a horrible audition for him. Just the worst. And I left and I said, I'm going to be a National Geographic photographer. And I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, I'm just done with acting, and I'm going to go to, like, Mauritius or something and go, like, study Tuaregs. I'm out of here. See you later. And then, the engine. Next day, it was okay.
You got back at it?
Yeah.
Talk to us about auditioning for this role in Ray Donovan. When you got the call, did you have any hesitation towards it, or?
No, yeah, that's a nice thing too. I think we know often, yeah, and I do. And the reason I hesitated, because sometimes it's fear that comes up when we know we're right for something or we know we should do it, because it's challenging and we fear challenge and are excited equally, simultaneously. And that's the cool thing, the duality of it. But I thought, that's a really interesting juxtaposition. Someone who wants to heal people, but also has, maybe a hard time healing himself, and has this violent impulses, and also believes in empowering people. It's interesting. So I knew immediately that I would like to do it, and I had this idea that maybe it was in the I think they had in the script that he's barefoot, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna just go barefoot. And it's a very simple thing, like, I go to the audition and there's the producers, and I took off my shoes before I went in barefoot and just a t-shirt, but everyone else there was kind of in a suit, and later on the casting, somebody told me that all these guys were, they approached the role like Tom Cruise in Magnolia. whoever it was, if it was a producer or the casting director, I don't remember, but he said everyone in here who came in was trying to do a Tom Cruise impersonation, and you didn't. But all I did is follow what was in the script. It was like that he's barefoot. Okay, well, you know, I believe in if you're barefoot, you feel things differently. You feel like, you know, we all feel different when we're barefoot than in a suit with like stiff Prada shoes that are kind of uncomfortable when we're grounded with our bare feet. It's just a different thing. And you know, I think that was a part of what keyed into what they must have been searching for. And then I don't know, there's a million reasons why anyone gets cast in anything, and who knows. But I'm glad they I'm glad they did.
That you got the call.
Yeah.
Do you ever get fearful now that you're a little more seasoned in acting? Do you still get fearful in the audition room?
Yeah. I mean, I meant that like, you know, you know, I meant what I was saying about auditioning, that it's like still, yeah, totally. Because you give all, we give all, and the one saving grace on the other side is they have written all. And they're saying, I wrote. And maybe a writer feels like, I poured my blood, sweat, and tears and heart onto these pages, and here it is. Now it's your turn. You show me. That's fair. But then there's all these other people in the room too, and they didn't necessarily give all, you know. So sometimes it doesn't feel equally weighted. It's you and 10. And yeah, it's totally challenging. But you know, something, I just did a short film for somebody who did visual effects on a show that I did years ago, and he just called me up out of the blue. He was really young when he was doing it. He's still young. He's 27 now. And he said, I wrote a short film, and would you do it? And I said, sure. And then I just did the shoot out in the desert a few days ago. And afterward, he came up to me, he was thanking me, you know, for being, you know, participating, and he said, you know, you probably have more experience than most anyone here. And that was the first time I've ever had the realization of, oh, wait a minute, that's to the seasoned thing. Like, wait a minute, I have been doing this a while. More than all these other, you know, it's a small crew. It's like 15 people doing a short film, whatever. I was like, oh, right, I'm kind of like seasoned now. Seasoned. That's a good feeling, right? It's a nice feeling to know that, you know, like we don't always have, and I did for years, and it's just changing, and just in recent years. The feeling, I always felt like a guy, like a baseball player in AAA, like trying to get up to the majors and then getting like some time in, some games in, and like always feel like, God, can I play in the show? That kind of thing. Like, and for you know, probably for feelings of inexperience and not knowing what I'm doing. And now there's still all of the same traps to fall into, all of the ways in which you can not be prepared and fall flat on your face. But now if I realize if I do the work, like the rest is like, there's a lot of knowing now in the cells of my body that just has done it before. And it's like, you know how to do this, man. That's a good feeling. I mean, I don't even know if I could go on if I didn't, you know, if we didn't start to have that feeling. But that's it, right? When any professional starts to get good at their craft, that's when we get into like the sweet years of like making things, you know? The carpenter who like builds some really awesome houses. He figured it out, you know, whatever it is. That's fun. That's really fun.
Well, we have a few questions from the audience that you guys asked. Elena wanted to know, did you find it difficult to play a character like Pinocchio and then a psychopath?
Oh, no. I mean, no.
That was easy for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just I mean, because that's what we do, isn't it? It wasn't so, I mean, the only time that was consecutive is that story that I explained, you know, when I was in a hotel room in a just like short amount of time and it was really the third thing that threw me off a little. I've been playing this character of Pinocchio for a couple years, so I know what the thing is with that. And then I'd figured out what the thing is with the other. And, okay, the thing I can offer is the more I find if I stay present and in the moment and don't start thinking about what's beyond, like even now I could like totally derail. And if I start to think about like, oh my gosh, there's this audience in front of me and like I have to say something interesting and like what if they don't like me and this girl's nodding her head and she's probably like, he's an idiot. And if I start to think of those things, if I did, right? All of a sudden I'm no longer in the moment and things aren't lining up and I'm nonsensical and not present and you feel it and then I create the thing that I was fearing in the first place. And I find like if I stay present and totally in this moment with you and all of you and whatever, in acting on set, like in the scene, that when it's shooting that take 5, I believe they're saying that to me for the first time, and now I have to feel that what it does, the hit, and then give it back, all in this moment, believing it entirely and not thinking ahead or behind. Then like, okay, that's how we can do it. That's the only way I know how to do it well, is to stay right here, right now.
Irene wants to know, or I actually touched on this earlier, what was your first acting break?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's that, right? The indie that I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Or no, I mean, we can look at it another way. My parents, I think it's just helpful, like, having the things people will do for you, or like, what you never know where the gift is going to come. My parents had an airline service flying out of San Ynez, small airline, charter commuter flights. They happened to fly a director named Terry Hughes. He was behind Golden Girls, and he had done a movie called The Butcher's Wife, and he had had some success. And my mom said, hey, my son's an actor. She's very forward. Like, my son's an actor. She's the one who went off to Nashville at 45 to have a country music career. My son's an actor. He needs an agent. He's like, whoa, okay. Has he done anything? He did an independent film, and I can get it to you. And she did, and he saw it, and he's like, okay. And then he sent it to Susan Smith, of Susan Smith and Associates, wonderful agent, mentor, then my manager of many years, who passed about a year and a half ago. She saw it, called me in, and she's very she's just very direct, which I love about her or anybody actually. She said, the movie was not very good, but you're good in it. You have to do something about your hair. Those are the only things I remember. I had my hair like all over my face or something. Those were her 3 things. But anyways, that's how the connection that my mother made an overture, and it was received, and so I didn't have to do the knocking on the. Right. But I always tell, anytime an actor who is working towards breaking into the business asks me about, what they should do, I always say, and I wonder if any of them do it, or maybe they have, audition for short films. I mean, this this was an independent film, but like, do it yourself. There are ways in which you can get in small productions, features, short films, web things. To do it, and then you have film, because I always have this feeling, I think it's true, I'm sure my managers here could attest to it, that they don't want to see anybody who like, what do you have, like, what do you, maybe people do want to see monologues, I don't know, I just get this feeling, and I guess it's also from people telling me that people want to see, like, show me, show me what you have, and I want to see it on a link, right? Yeah, so create that for them. Yeah.
So you sent Mom some flowers.
I don't know what I did. I definitely thanked her. But I was, 20, 19. Oh, I wonder if I did send her flowers. You know what? Can I do it? I could do it now.
You can definitely do it now.
She'd love that, actually. I just do it.
Tommy would like to know, how did you get your SAG card?
From Maloney. They did that, Taft-Hartley thing. Right. So I started auditioning for things, and I did not have a SAG card. But, you know, I guess it works that when you get your first, it's been a while now, but when you get your first gig, that you just pay some money and you're Taft-Hartley'd, and then you have to do another couple jobs, is it, before you actually get your, I forget how it works. But that was how. I think that's a pretty traditional way to do it, isn't it? No, I guess a lot of people do like extra work, and you can do background work, and you can work your way in what? Oh, see, I don't even know what voucher, yeah. That was the way I did it.
Okay. Alex would like to know, in the beginning of your career, after booking a few roles, were you still dealing with a lot of rejection?
I still deal with a lot of rejection. No, really. It's like always, whatever. I mean, anybody, I think anyone's, I don't know. Yes. Yes. Because the I don't know how to say it other than that. I mean, isn't that that's just a part of life, and it builds character, right? to be turned down. That's it. It's like an audition or wanting a film or a TV show or a play or whatever it is. We're all in this numbers game. There's so many of us, and there's so few slots, and we're all in this idea of competition, which, you know, I take some issue with. I think we're all like offering up our unique spirit that we have, and only I have mine, and only you have yours, and so on and so forth. And if we give that, then they just either want that or they don't want that. And sometimes it's just about the art, and sometimes it's about foreign box office, and there's, you know, all these different reasons. And I just do my best to not take it personally, and just give whatever I can to the thing, and then try and be done with it. That's it. Just pour whatever I can offer into it, and then be done. And then not look at it like, so I said, you know, it's like rejection, but it isn't really. It's just someone else's something was more our thing we needed to get. That's okay. So, process. Yes. It's all a process. This whole thing is a process. Yes. Thank you. Totally.
Last question. Keely would like to know, what is the best advice you've ever received as an actor?
Well, it just came up, so I guess it's the best advice. Tim Curry said to me during a scene, he kind of pulled me aside. He said something like, "You're really talented, but," he's got it in English. I'm not going to try and do it, but he's like, you've got a lot of talent, but the way you look, you don't have to try to express things. Just basically, he was saying, stillness is going to work well for you. And I've interpreted it, you know, now, of just being centered in I guess it's an element of not trying so hard to affect or trying so hard to be seen in a certain way. Just believe the thing and own that, and have a centeredness and a stillness with it. And that always stuck with me, because, you know, we don't have always people, you know, when we take an acting class in a theater, that's not someone noticing your work on a film set and the way what your relationship is with the camera. But I appreciated that, and it definitely resonated with me. And until now, I just have ease. Have ease in your work. And I think we have ease in our work when we feel like we know what we're doing. It's always like that. You know, we meet people. When someone really is working hard to get you to think something or to show you like how whatever they are, they want you to get. We know, oh, maybe they're not that thing they say they are because they're trying so hard to tell me that that's who they are. I'm often drawn to people who are like, look, here's how I feel about this thing, and this is what it is. And I've always felt this, and I think that. What do you think? And they're just like, boom, I own this. This is who I am. Mm-hmm. So I try and do not always achieve, but I try to find that centeredness.
Just be you.
Just be, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. A seasoned you.
Just be you. She's an editor after all. That is her gig. Thank you.
Well, if we can give him another warm welcome, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Thanks for being here.
Gratitude.